Patriots select Drake May.
He's got the ball, and that's the ball game.
I'm going to confess to you before we even really get going here on the All 32 podcast that I have a massive headache from staring at my phone, texting people, calling, refreshing, emails, nonsense. The roster cut down day today happened to be by 4 o'clock. As we tape this at 5:45 on Tuesday, August the 26th. Will, the Jets still haven't submitted their final 53-man roster. I don't know how you can say there's a hard deadline, but then they kind of floated a little bit. I mean, I know they have to have the list into the league by 4 o'clock, but just, okay, goes out to the league and then it just, boom, throw it on Twitter. Although, Will, if you're the Patriots, your social media team might have hit send a little too early, and that tweet that had a few people on the team that weren't on the team eventually had to go away very quickly. But he's Will Parkinson. I'm Mike Giardi. This is the All 32 Pod, a proud member of the CLNS Media Network, and of course brought to you by the #1 daily fantasy sports app in North America, PrizePicks. Download today. Use the code CLNS to get $50 off your first 5 PrizePicks. Run your game. Are you annoyed that you sit here at, as I said, 5:40? It's now 5:46, and that list still has not come out for the New York Jets?
No, because there's like 6 or 7 guys that are the ones in flux. There's been a lot. There's some other people that have been told they're making it that I just have made a nice pact to not tweet. So I would say it's more of they do this for competitive advantage. The waiver wire comes out around 7 or 8 to teams around the league. They try to hope that, hey, they give these teams as little time as possible to kind of scout their guys, and they want to shoot some guys through for the Jets' sake. You know, is it Brandon Smith, who had a really nice camp at receiver? Greg Bedard Converse is probably the #1 guy they would like to retain. He's a cornerback they drafted in the 6th round in 2021. In 2022, has had really good summers the last 2 summers. He's in one of the most loaded rooms in the league. Mm-hmm. Numbers game happens. You try to sneak the guy through back on the practice squad, and someone eventually gets hurt. So I'm not annoyed, Mike. I would say this is one of my least favorite days. I think it's my least favorite day on the NFL calendar. I would say it's today. It's Black Monday, mostly around jobs, and I would say the schedule release. The 3 most annoying days. Everyone all of a sudden has sources. Yeah. Everyone finds out everything. There's a rat race for what guy is going back on what practice squad. Mike, I want to ask you about the Patriots because you tweeted something that struck to me was we've talked so much about the Patriots wide receivers. Good, bad, ugly, indifferent. McLaurin, Jakobi Meyers, and I do want to touch on Meyers quickly.
Yeah.
But a lot of receivers made the roster. Like an exorbitant amount of receivers made the roster for a group that transparently I don't think any of us think is that great. And it's like, how did all these guys all manage to make the roster? Walk me through the roster as a whole, and just Cole Strange gone, first-round pick from a couple years ago.
Yeah.
McVay has to pick him up, right? Just purely.
I mean, that would be perfect full circle moment. As for those who don't remember, McVay, Les Snead, the GM, they didn't have a pick until later in like the 3rd round that draft. And they started laughing when they were told that Cole Strange was picked by the Patriots in the 1st round. They may have over-imbibed that day, or at least had a few going. But the word on the street was Les Snead told Sean McVay, hey, check out some of these guards, because that was a position of interest for them. We figure that are going to be there in the 3rd round. Among the names was Cole Strange. And, of course, the Patriots picked Cole Strange first. He never amounted to that kind of player. I don't think it's his fault. Quite frankly, he got overdrafted. He looked like he might be an average NFL starter. And then 2 years ago in I believe it was the finale or second to last game, blew out his knee and didn't return till late last year. Tried to make a little bit of a position change this year. Didn't have a good summer. They gave him opportunities, tried to branch him out a little bit, play center, play left guard, play right guard. Just didn't work for him. On the 8 wide receivers, there's no way, no how that they'll have 8 wide receivers on the roster come week 1 against Las Vegas. So we're talking 2 weeks from now, 2 weeks and a few days. But this tells you a little bit about the state of their roster. And again, they've been sort of a hot team, especially first it started local. Now it's spread to national. Whereas now the locals are kind of like, well, we've heard from different people, like you guys might be putting the cart ahead of the horse here, and we still got a long way to go with this roster. I think this tells you, Will, that they've got a long way to go with their roster. They don't have enough good players where they could look at their wide receiver room and say, you, and you. Yep. Okay. We're good. Any one of the 3 you guys maybe is our 6th wide receiver if we wanted to do that. But then the rest of you, see you later. Goodbye. No, instead they keep a veteran in Kendrick Bourne who hasn't been on the practice field since their in-stadium practice, I think now 3 weeks ago, as he got rolled up on in that one. They keep Javon Baker, who had a decent camp, actually pretty good to start, and then I think leveled off as a receiver, but it didn't happen in the preseason games for him at all. I think he had 1 catch in the preseason, had a dumb penalty, like different things there, but he's a gunner now for them. Marcellus Dial, who would probably have been their gunner opposite Brendan Schooler, he tore his knee up pretty early in camp, and Baker sort of assumed that role, but it just goes to tell you, like, they just don't have enough. And I'll give you one other thing as I just sort of an overview of the initial 53, which again is going to change. It may change by the time you watch this. In fact, I would pretty much guarantee it'll probably have already changed by the time this is published and you watch it. Is like the depth at linebacker is scary. You know, Jelani Tavai, we haven't seen since the first week of camp. He's been put on IR but designated to return, whereas Jalen Polk, the wide receiver, on IR and his season is over. But it's like, yeah, turns out the rat was right. But if something happens to Robert Spillane, who I think is a solid player, a good player, certainly has done a nice job with the leadership of that group. Oh boy, I don't know what happens there. And if Tavai is not ready, for 4, 5, 6 weeks, whatever the case may be, and something happens to Spillane early, they've got problems. And then again, the offensive line, it's still it's not unsettled. I think they know where their 5 are. It's going to be two rookies on the left side, and Will Campbell and Jared Wilson. But Wilson sort of leveled off a little bit here. Garrett Bradbury hasn't had an awesome summer. He's going to be your starting center for now. And we've barely seen Morgan Moses. They've kept him on a pitch count, which makes sense. He's 34. I get it. But like, do you think he can play 17 games? Probably not.
Yeah, I just laugh because in a lot of these cuts, just across the league, and you saw with the Patriots and guys, a lot of these are not shocking. I think we always see that, like, oh my God, Shiloh Sanders got cut, or oh my, the list goes on and on. I just using Shiloh because of the outrage over a UDFA 6-string safety, but.
Maybe don't punch a guy in the face too in the preseason.
Yeah, that's my favorite tweet of all time. I'm going to frame that tweet. Like, how dare he get ejected? It's like, oh no, dude, like he threw a haymaker in a ref in a preseason game. This is kind of what happens. But no, my God, I'm curious. I actually get more excited about the waiver, wire, tomorrow, and even more so excited about what little moves people tinker with the next couple of days. Most people want to break camp. Truly break camp. Though most guys will be off. Generally, the rest of the league, obviously, maybe outside of Dallas and Philly, but Thursday to Monday-ish, they'll practice Thursday and then be off for a couple of days. And the reason I say that is like any other trades, things like that, extensions usually happen in that like 48-hour window.
Mm-hmm.
Our window, everyone comes back from Labor Day, Tuesday, Wednesday. You're in a game week prep. They'll be in a game week prep this week too, but once the roster gets come down to 53, then you'll start to see game plans instituted. You'll see some, does an Alec Pierce or Romeo Doubs get moved? Probably not, but like maybe, and then what happens with Micah. But I know we have an ad to read, and then I do want to hit on the two guys that got extended or lack of extensions that they kind of did exactly what we said they should have done, especially when it comes to Trey Hendrickson.
It is absolutely mind-numbing. You speak of ads. We actually have two. We'll do one right now, but that's of course PrizePicks, one of the title sponsors of the program. Great daily fantasy sports app. Even if you never played daily fantasy sports, but you're a sports fan, so easy to get involved. All you do is pick more or less on 2 players up to 6 to win 2,000 times your money. And just think about it, like how you're watching the Red Sox and Yankees this past weekend. And you say, boy, I like the way Roman Anthony's swinging the bat. Maybe let's see how many home runs. What are they? Oh, a half a home run. Maybe I'll take more on the half a home run. You know what? Walker Buehler tends not to pitch very well. It hasn't pitched very well all year long. So maybe I'm going to go less on the innings or whatever. You just combine those and again have the opportunity to win up to 2,000 times your cash. And of course, cross sports. We're going to have football soon. Rushing attempts, rushing yards, touchdowns, passing yards, all that stuff. You can get involved. So just download the app. Use the code CLNS to get $50 off your first 5. You can download the app today. Use the code CLNS to get $50 off your first 5. PrizePicks, run your game. We'll hear from Ethos in just a little bit. when we're talking about the Jets, you mentioned Brandon Smith, who I know you thought had a really good summer. Then there's another guy who I think we all liked at the Senior Bowl 2 years ago, and we all thought like, ooh, the comparison from Malachi. Yeah, geez, brain is fried right now. Corley to Deebo Samuel was a little unfair because Deebo obviously been in the league, has been doing it for a while, but the same sort of like powerful body. You can use him in different places. He's not really a wide receiver. He's not really a running back, but just get him the ball and things will happen. The Jets made him the 3rd round pick, and it pretty much didn't go well for him from jump. And now he is has been released by the Jets.
Yeah, he was a big fish in a small pond in college, and I think that attitude of being the biggest fish maybe didn't change in his time in New York. I would say everyone latched on to the Davante Adams story of Davante wanted 17 back. He basically offered him, a lot of money for me or you or any normal person, 10, 20, ish grand. He demanded back $170,000 from Davante Adams, which to Davante Adams might be what 20 grand is worth, but it's still insane for a rookie to go up to an all-pro and do that. Everyone made a big deal of that. I don't think that had anything to do with why it didn't work in New York. A lot of immaturity. I would say at times, even this preseason, supposed to be on the field, kind of not locked in, maybe didn't go on the field when he was supposed to be on there. Maybe after an opening kickoff per se, Mike, maybe on Friday. I would say it's also things like given an opportunity. So the Jets changed their regime, and I'll keep this short. He had a really tough year last year. Just couldn't get on the field. Was inactive early in the year. Gets this big shot. They drop first, maybe best play the Jets drew up all year. Reverse on Thursday Night Football. Everyone remembers it. Easy walk-in touchdown, drops the ball, and then didn't really take accountability for it. It was kind of just like, it happens. It's like, no, it doesn't. It doesn't happen and should never happen again. Outside of that, Sean Jefferson was the receivers coach last year. He is still there. Later that year, or a year ago, Corley essentially was offered opportunity to compete on specials and be part of practice with the big boys, not in the practice squad and not, over on the far field, and opted for the far field as opposed to special teams. Too good for it. So I don't know where he'll latch on. Maybe it's Atlanta. Maybe it's San Francisco, one of the, places where that some of those Jets, coaching staff was. That was his guy. That was Rodgers' pick all the way. And that obviously blew up in the Jets' face. But, puzzling one, obviously 12 months removed from being a 3rd round pick and a top 90 pick in the draft. Jets trade up for him. Mm-hmm. And he's cut on a roster that, frankly, needs wide receivers. So pretty big indictment. He never had a shot this summer. Mike, he was at one point running with the fours. You're not making the team if you're running with the fours. So it ended before it really ever started in New York.
Interesting you talk about accountability for a young receiver, because I think we discussed it on this pod a while back when we first heard from Jalen Polk this summer, and he was like, oh yeah, I'm still doing the same thing I did. Didn't acknowledge last year, didn't acknowledge the struggles of last year. Maybe he felt like he had already talked about it enough at the end of last season, but then he could have just, as I think I discussed,
Mike, what's the NFL stand for again?
Could have just said, you just say it and to be like, guys, I get the question. It was a terrible year. I'm bound and determined not to let that happen again. And I hope you guys respect it, but I don't want to talk about last year anymore. Okay.
NFL, not fair. For long, maybe. Not for long. Mike, I want to point out one stat to you that you kind of hinted at. And Patriots fans won't like the stat, and I don't think you should like the stat. This is a Bill Belichick and to some extent an Elliott Wolf and company stat. Mike, how many of the 18 picks between 2022 and 2024 are on the initial 53-man roster? 18 picks over those 3 years. How many are on the roster to start 2025?
May, Wallace, Baker, Gonzalez.
And that's it.
Wow. I was thinking there might be one more.
We're at 18.
Not great. I did look at the numbers. I think my if my math is correct, they turned over of last year's 53. They have 22 new players brought in by the Vrabel, Cowden stretch regime. Elliott Wolf also involved, I guess. That's 41%. And I would tell you, again, going back to just the overall roster and what we're talking about, 8 wide receivers, they still have a lot of work to do. There's still, there's still 10 more players probably that they could turn over on that roster if they really want to make it theirs and sort of complete the vision of what they're looking for. Before we get to some of the veteran moves that happened, some of the things that we told you should happen, I want to talk to you about life insurance. And I said this when we did this ad a while back, and thankfully Ethos is back with us, that, when I was an adult, like getting married, like I didn't think about life insurance, never even crossed my mind. Why would I spend money on that? Then I had a child. Then I had another one. And I was like, what are you doing, Giardi? What are you doing? If something happens to you, how do you make sure that they're taken care of? Not that my wife wasn't making money, but like you're making money too. Like when that disappears, what would happen to that family? You want to make sure the roof is over their head. You want to make sure the bills are taken care of. You want to make sure their educations are taken care of. And that's why life insurance is so important. And with Ethos, your family is protected. Ethos is an online platform that makes getting life insurance fast and easy to protect your family's future. In minutes, not months. There's no complicated process. It is 100% online. No medical exam required. Not many do that. No medical exam required. You just answer a few health questions. You can get a quote in as little as 10 minutes, and you can get same-day coverage without ever leaving your house. And let's face it, since COVID, a lot of people don't want to leave their house. And I know COVID's a thing of the past, but like we all kind of like, hey, you know what? I kind of like my house. I kind of like being around. So again, just another way to, if you want to stay in your house, you can stay in your house. Life insurance, by the way, more affordable than you think. With Ethos, you can get a free quote and customize a rate that fits your budget. You can get up to $3 million in coverage, and some policies are as low as $2 a day. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos. Get a free quote at ethos.com/all32. That's ethos.com/all32. Thanks for being back with us. All right, back to football. Jakobi Meyers, that was an interesting one, right? Where he apparently wants a contract extension. Vegas dragging their feet. He asked for a trade. There were some rumblings that there was real discussions about moving him, and that the Raiders wanted them to take, whoever the teams were, to take on more money. Kyle Duggar, for instance, probably wouldn't be a Patriot if the Patriots were willing to take on more money. Instead, they said, no, you got to pay most of this. Well, that's what they're saying with Jakobi Meyers. And for now, he remains, but I got to believe that's not going to last. That relationship seems a little bit broken. And unless they sort of find a way to equal out the money here, we're going to be talking about Jakobi Meyers for the next few weeks, if not the next month and a half.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense for the Pats. It makes a lot of sense for a lot of teams. He's a good player.
Yep.
800,000 yards a year, plays pretty much every game, had 0 drops last year. Like, it's just going to be the money, and what are you willing to pay in compensation from like a salary perspective on top of the draft capital? I think a lot of teams should make a move. The Raiders basically drafted multiple of his replacements.
Sure.
So I wouldn't move him if I didn't have to, but if you're the Raiders and someone's willing to give you a 3 or, a 4 and a 5 or something of that nature, whatever it may be, look, he's a really good player, and he's your typical number 2. Like, he's not really a 1,000-yard guy. I mean, he kind of is, but not really. Like, in an ideal world, he's not your 1,000-yard guy. But he's also, not like some crappy number 3. He is a legit bona fide 2A, really good player. So
he'll block too. Like you mentioned the Patriots. Well, you're the Jets. You're talking about the Jets and needing a wide receiver. Would you, if you're this regime for the Jets and your roster is where it is right now, would you say we'll give you a 3, or is that too rich for where the Jets are at this point? Because you're not only going to have to give up the 3, but to make the guy happy, you're going to have to give him some money. Depends
on the money. But I would say the problem for the Jets is they don't have their 3rd-round pick because they traded for Hassan Reddick. They have 2 4s. So
the gift that keeps on giving.
Maybe it's a conditional 4 that could become a 3. Or something like that, or it's multiple 4s or whatever it is. Yeah, I would. I mean, if I'm the Jets, I would, because it elevates you a lot. But I'd rather the Jets go after an Alec Pierce, who's a younger player, stretches the field a bit more, leaves underneath open for Garrett, and another guy who's a really young, good player that is a really good number 2, but he's going to need to get paid. And they're already paying Pittman. They have A.D. Mitchell. They have Josh Downs. They have John. Like, I don't know. The culture are weird. That we will talk about the culture this week. I don't. They're very confusing.
Yeah, there's a good amount of talent on that Colts team, but obviously a massive problem at quarterback right now. Meanwhile, newsflash: Trey Hendrickson remains with the Bengals, gets a 1-year boost. Basically, he's going to make $30 million this year, which puts him in line with a lot of the other highly paid edge rushers and the some of the numbers that got thrown around for guys like TJ Watt, Myles Garrett, less than, but whatever. He's on the wrong side of 30. He wanted more guarantees. They couldn't figure that out. So here it is. It's a 1-year deal. You're playing for another contract. Go crazy. And then Terry McLaurin, who gets a big bump in his salary. And it's, again, the overall picture is 3 years, $95 million, but it's tacked on to what he already has. And there again is money moved into this year to make him whole and happy for this season. These things should have happened so long ago. And you knew when you didn't do anything around the draft, what's the point at this point of moving on from the player when you're not going to be able to help your team? Or if you're Cincinnati and you were doing what you were, which was saying, oh, we want a first-round pick and we want a young defensive player for our unit that's terrible, like that's a lot to give up and then turn around and pay the guy. So it was like you knew this was all coming to. You had to pay the guy. I just wonder why neither place did it earlier. It would have made a lot more sense. And if they get off to slow starts or these guys have a pulled hamstring because they're trying to get fast forward and get ready for week 1 of the regular season, kind of you get what you deserve.
Yeah, the Terry one to me is such a joke. That's the Hendrickson one. There was a lot more issues, it seems. Diana reported that there's no guaranteed money in the second year. So they basically just were screwing him in one way or another. He's going to get like the big, $40 million a year. And it's like none of it he's going to see.
Right.
So good work on his agent's part of not letting that happen. The Terry one's just so stupid to me. Like, you were always going to have to pay him that. The second DK signed that deal, he was going to get paid that. And Garrett gets paid, and like, I don't know. That one to me is frustrating, especially quarterback receiver. You just always want to have that timing down. You always want to get the reps during camp, be able to run fluidly through the offense. You always worry about hamstrings, soft tissues. Again, with Hendrickson, like, win-win for the Bengals and Hendrickson in a lot of senses. Like, he gets a massive raise. And if he plays really well, he's going to get more than $30 million next year, probably from somebody else. And if you're the Bengals, you're able to keep him one more year. And if you're bad at the deadline, you move him. So it ended up working out for everybody in the end. It just, like, so stupid. And especially the McLaurin thing that really irritates me strictly on, like, that was so preventable. Like, so preventable. The Hendrickson one was dicey. Clearly they were, like, not even remotely close. So that one, like, good on them to figure it out. But like what they did with Hendrickson, like, I would have just done with McLaurin. And why'd you lock yourself into 3 years if you didn't have to? I would have said, here, dude, you could make $40 million this year. You can tell everybody you're going to make 40, unless you're first team all pro and win the Super Bowl, you're not going to see any of that money. So I don't know. To me, it felt like Washington just caved into exactly what he wanted the whole time.
Right.
But in the opposite end, like, Hendrickson had to cave because he wasn't playing on $15 million a year. And he's sure as bleep was not signing a massive extension that screws him.
Yeah. And also you're not going to sit out because you're 30, 31 years old. Like, you can't, it's still 50. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, that's probably where Mike Brown's coming from. Well, it's still $15 million. You're going to literally turn your nose up and sit on the sideline and not get paid at all, or you're going to suck it up and come in here. I think the McLaurin thing, to me, I just wonder. So that Washington's new ownership, Adam Peters, a lot of flowers thrown in their direction for the last year in particular, right? For the turnaround and making it all the way to the NFC Championship game. But I will say, like, dragging this on as much as they did, signing Javon Kinlaw to the contract they signed him to. There's a couple other things they've done. I'm fine with the Tunsil thing, like, whatever. Like, again, he's an upgrade over what they had. We'll see, he may have already played his best football, probably likely has, but, like, who knows? Maybe he's motivated and looks at Trent Williams and says, I can do this for another 10 years and make how many more millions, like, puts himself in that place. But I just think it's something to sort of file away. And there were some reports like, oh, people are getting to see the real Adam Peters in terms of how he negotiates and the hard line. And the last point on this one is I didn't like the DK Metcalf contract. I think it was an overpay. But guess what? It happened. And so you can't sit there as Washington and say, well, Terry, we're not going to give you that. Terry McLaurin, DK Metcalf, different kind of style of player, but like basically the same production, right around the same age. Like, sorry, man. Like that's the price of doing business. It's we talk about with the corner and with Garrett Wilson, with Sauce. Like the longer you wait, the more it's going to cost you. So had you done something before Metcalf gets moved, right? Maybe you get the number. You say, hey, man, we dodged a bullet there. We saved $3 million a year on Terry McLaurin because Metcalf still signs that contract. Well, no, you waited. Metcalf got the contract, and then too bad, right? It's just, we know Cortland Sutton's the deal you need to look at. No. We're looking at the one right down the street. We think our guy's more comparable to him than he is to Cortland Sutton. And again, as you said, at the end of the day, they just caved and said, fine, take the money and run. We're going to be back at the end of the week, start to pick up our previews again, which we've been so busy with training camp that we had to sort of back off those a little bit, but we will finish those strong before the season starts. Get all our award stuff too as well before we start the regular season. So we appreciate your patience with that. Now, for those listening to the show, we ask you to subscribe to the podcast, like and leave a review. And for those watching the show on CLNS, go ahead, hit the like button, subscribe to the Patriots Press Pass YouTube channel, where you can find our show and a lot of other great Patriots and league-wide content. Also, please make sure to turn on your notifications so you know the instant a new video drops. He is Will. I am Mike. We will see you at the end of the week.